You know, a lot of women really just talked about the birthing process. They really talked about, okay, you know, the epidural, this is what it's going to be like when you have the child. I wish they would have told me more so about the first month, the first couple weeks. You know, I don't remember ever having a conversation with a woman about that. My name is Renee Villanueva. I'm 28 years old and my baby is 1 month and a week, and I was 27 when I found out that I was pregnant. I looked forward to being a mom. I did want to be a mom one day, and I thought that, you know what, I'm going to get everything right in my life. I'm going to have everything perfect. I'm going to finish grad school. I was in grad school at the time. So I said, I'm going to finish grad school. I'm going to get a good job. I feel like I had everything planned out, and I'm going to continue to have things planned out until my child gets here. I want to provide for my child, just more of in a broad sense, thinking about the bigger picture rather than the more detailed stuff that you think about when you finally do get pregnant. So you don't think about the hard stuff then. And I didn't think about it then. I just thought about, what do I need to do to get myself right in order to position myself to become a mother. And then of course when I found out, I was in grad school, so it was a completely different story. My mind frame changed immediately. And then I did go into survival mode. What do I need to do right now? Now it is about finishing school, but what are the things that I need to know? A lot of women really just talked about the birthing process. They really talked about, okay, the epidural, this is what it's going to be like when you have the child. I wish they would have told me more so about the first month, the first couple weeks. I don't remember ever having a conversation with a woman about that. And to me, the pain tolerance, no one knows your pain tolerance. So for somebody to say the birthing process was really painful, and it was very painful. I didn't have an epidural. I did have her natural, and it did take hours. I was exhausted, I was tired, but I still was able to get through it, as painful as it was. Felt like I was kind of traumatized the next 2 weeks after because of how painful it was. But really, I think looking back now, even after a month, I wish I would have been told about the first 2 weeks. Those are the things that really mattered most to me. And I really had to push through it, just like breastfeeding. For the first 2 weeks, or the first 3 to 4 days, you're not producing breast milk. It takes a while for your breast milk to get in. So the way that your baby's processing your body and feeding and the amount of time that your baby eats compared to other moms, a lot of moms told me how much they gave up. Well, the first 2 weeks, they were painful after breastfeeding. My milk wasn't in, or they say I wasn't producing milk, and there are times where I questioned whether I wasn't producing milk, but I stuck with it. No one really talked to me about sticking it out and sticking with it. And actually, I had a lot of moms, or even my mom, would tell me, well, your baby isn't eating enough. You need to feed her formula. You need to do this and you need to do that. And, of course, so me and Chris sat here and we're like, we just kind of have to stick with it and stick it out because we don't know. And the only form of communication for our child is to cry. So it's like we had to stick it out. But now that we stuck it out and I've gotten a month and I'm starting to produce more and I see she's eating more, she's more content, now it makes sense. Now I'm able to see, okay, this may have been what was going on, and this may have been what we were going through, looking back on it just within this short period of time. My support system really, I felt like got me through it. Like I said, nobody knows your pain tolerance, so the pain is something you internally have to deal with yourself. After I had the baby, especially when you don't know what to expect, even if you hear 100,000 stories, you don't know what your experience is going to be like. And before I was a mom, I was a go-getter. I was on top of my business. I was in grad school. I was also working. I'm all about my business. And so when you're in a position, when you have a child, your body's in a lot of pain. You're trying to learn your child while your child's trying to teach you how to take care of them. I felt so helpless. I felt so helpless because I couldn't move like I wanted to. Sometimes my body and my mind didn't go with one another. My mind was telling me to do one thing, my body was telling me something different. But having Chris, he was on paternal leave. I tell him all the time, especially for the first 2-3 weeks, if it wasn't for him being here, I don't think I could have done it by myself. He just went back to work last week, and even during that week here by myself, even with her being older, so when she gets older, she eats more, she's gonna be a little bit more content, but even during that week, it was still hard for me. And I even got to a point where it's like, oh my God, I need a break. Like, if you do not take this baby away from me, like, it's over. I can't do this. And I have told myself, oh my God, I can't do this. But I know that I can. But yeah, just feeling helpless in those times. There was times where I was like really tired. My mom wanted to come over and I just didn't even want company because I just was so tired. But you know what, then when we would invite them over, just giving her the baby, even if she cried, just to give me and Chris a break or even myself a break, it was helpful. It was very helpful, even at times where I didn't want company. Sometimes when they were here or when we went out for Christmas, everybody passed the baby around, and it was something new for her. So she was very entertained. She was very distracted. So she was fine. Like that, we were like, everyone's like, you have such a good baby. She doesn't cry. But she wasn't like that when we're at home. We're like, oh, this is the first day she's been like this. So, but you don't know until you try. You know, we could have been like, you know what, we're tired. We didn't get a lot of sleep. So we're going to choose not to go. But we chose to go. And then it ended up being, she was fine all day. I wish I would have known how to help me through the times of feeling helpless. What kind of things maybe would have, which I eventually figured it out. When you have a baby, well, for example, one of my friends told me when she met my baby for the first time, man, isn't it amazing how, the first day you have your child, you just love her so much, and, you just, oh my God. And I thought to myself, I didn't experience that because I was in pain. That pain, although I was holding her, and I told myself, I can't believe this baby's mine. Things that all the blissful things moms were saying, I was not feeling those things. Like, oh my God, I have the best child in the world. I love my child so much. Because the first month, it's all about, take. It's not a give and take relationship at first. And so you really have to have your mind right, to foster this relationship with your child that's constantly taking. And there were times where I just told Chris, can you just give me a hug? I just need a hug. Because I needed somebody to give, while she was constantly taking. So I think that process of what feeling helpless was going to feel like, what I could be experiencing, and maybe what things could help me in that process. Just like the midwives were preparing right before I had her, they were saying, it'd be good, for people to come drop some food off to you. It will help you, so y'all won't have to worry about cooking. Chris may be, busy trying to cook or do things that you may not be able to in the first couple weeks. But I just didn't know how helpless I was going to feel. And I think more so if women would have maybe told me more so about their experience of feeling helpless, and no one talked about the negativity. And when I told my friend, she was telling me, at the beginning, she had women tell her the same thing. Oh, I loved my child so much, and she's so precious. And she said she didn't feel the same way either, but she felt ashamed to say it. But when she heard me say it, she's like, man, you made me feel so much better because I thought I was the only one feeling that. And I was like, no. I even told my friend when she told me how, the first day it was just so blissful. And, I was like, I didn't feel that. And did it make me feel bad? Yeah, because I was like, when do I get to that point of feeling like that? Do I feel like I love my child less? No, I don't. I think that I love her very much. And I think as I see her smile at me and she's starting to get a personality, and I'm really starting to see her, because at first it's nothing but cry. But then when you finally get that interaction of being able to hold your child, she's up, she's awake, she's not crying, she's content, then you start kind of getting that interaction, and then you can feel more of what that feels like of, okay, I've provided for my child, she's content, I've given her what she needs, and now you kind of feel that connection. Where at first, to me, it wasn't like that. So I wish that process someone would have talked to me about, because when you talk to moms, I feel like they just talk about, then all the good things that happen, and I don't think it's like that immediately. One word. I would say perseverance, because you really have to self-talk yourself through. I mean, there were times where I said, man, I can't do this. I knew that I could. And as long as I thought about or told myself where this eventually is going to go, like, it's not always going to be like this. She's not always going to cry all the time. There is going to be a point where she's content, and there is going to be, I knew I was going to get to that point. But when you're experiencing something like that for 1 week, 2 weeks, and I'm at home all day, you don't get a break. And when you're breastfeeding, I'm the only person, it seems like, that could take care of her. And even watching her dad, feeling helpless because he can't feed her. No one can soothe her like the mom can. And again, like I said, you're constantly give. But I knew I was going to be able to rise above that. But you just don't know when that day is. You don't know when that break is going to be. You don't know when your baby's just going to change. So I would say that word, because I know that in the end, that's where you're going to get to. I'll be able to rise above it, and I'll be able to get to that point. But in that moment, you just kind of have to tell yourself that things. It was just like the birthing process for me. It was like, I'm not going to take an epidural, but this baby's coming out. It hurts like hell, but she's coming out, period. There's only two things. She's either going to stay in there, which I'm ready for her to come out, or she's going to come out. And so, you just kind of have to deal with it. And during that moment, I was telling myself, it's almost over, it's almost over. Even though I did know it took about 15 pushes, which is a long time. So even in that moment, I kept telling myself on the third push, it's almost over, but then I had to push again. And then I kept telling myself, it's almost over. And then it was like the sixth push, and she still wasn't out. And so I said, you have to continue to tell yourself the same things over and over again, and just know that, you're going to persevere through it all. My name is Renee Villanueva, and my word is perseverance.